Recent events in Egypt is having Jerusalem watch very carefully the developments in relations to Israel. Although Morsi was clearly not pro-Israeli, some have argued that Egyptian relations with Israel were far from the bleak prospects everyone predicted. With the new military regime in power, a lot of common issues like border crossings are up in the air, so we consulted with our experts to find out what we can expect from the new Egypt. Several countries, including Germany and the United States, have already stated their opinion on the new situation in Egypt. However, Israel seems to be mum about what is going on in the country it shares its largest border with in the south.
We have no interest in intervening or, playing into the hands of the enemy, of the army, or the army. I mean, nobody needs us in Egypt. No, I think it was an internal struggle, something that had to do with domestic politics. Morsi doesn't succeed to manage the economy, to solve the economic problems.
In a way, there might be a sense of relief in Israel because the Egyptians are going to be very busy dealing with their own internal problems at the moment. On the other hand, there might be some concerns for an escalation of violence in Egypt, which could be problematic for Israel once it reaches the Sinai, for example.
The question everyone in Jerusalem is asking themselves is, how will the intermediate regime in Cairo affect Israel, if at all?
The problem we are facing is that there is no central strong government in Egypt that can ensure stability along the border and can keep really the border quiet and stable. That's the main problem. I don't think that the Egyptians are so focusing on themselves and are so busy with their internal problems. They have no time to engage with, new conflict with Israel.
Security vacuum in the Sinai is likely to be filled up by maybe radical forces. Israel should be concerned about the border with the Sinai and hope that the Egyptian leaders will come to an agreement and will restore the security in Egypt as soon as possible.
The Egyptians try to confront the terrorists, but with no real success. I guess that we'll continue to see from time to time such terrorist activity against Israel. We should take it into consideration. I mean, it's not anymore the quiet border we used to have with Egypt.
Will the Egypt situation affect any of the other Arab countries who now have a Muslim regime in power?
The ousting of Morsi is definitely a setback for political Islam in Egypt and in the region. I don't think it will disappear entirely, but it's basically a huge blow to them. The Muslim Brothers have always said Islam is the solution. Now they've come to power, and it proves that it's maybe not the solution.
They took over Egypt for the first time since Egypt became an independent state, and they didn't deliver. So clearly it will probably affect the entire Arab world, the entire, so the secular camp might be encouraged by what happened in Egypt. We tend to think at the beginning that what we had was an Arab Spring, then it looked to us as if this spring is becoming an Islamic winter. But now there is a major setback for the Islamists all over the region. They are not doing well in Syria, in Jordan, in Lebanon.
In Tunisia, the Islamist experience is also still very insecure. There's also opposition to the new constitution. We have to wait and see, but if we look at Hamas, for example, the Muslim Brothers were also always their most substantial ally. They get a vital support from them, and for them the situation is also going to be very insecure.
Some claim that Morsi, even though he never even referred to Israel by its name, kept a blind eye policy when it came to the Jewish state. Could the situation worsen in the new regime?
The Israeli approach was that, Morsi was not a close friend of Israel. So at the same time, he accepted Israel as a fact and allowed the army to continue with the security cooperation with Israel. So by doing so, he gave some sort of legitimacy to the peace agreement.
Morsi has been very outspoken, and the Muslim Brotherhood, of course, in history, when it comes to Israel and Egypt peace treaty with Israel, it's always been called into question. So in a way you could say now Morsi's ousted, it might be a good thing for Israel, but as I said, it's still, we have to wait and see who's gonna come to power in Egypt, and we have no guarantee. Israel has no guarantee.
It will be interesting to follow if the fall of the political Islam in Egypt will have a domino effect in other Arab countries who went through the Arab Spring and have now Muslim leaders as heads of states like Tunisia and Libya, and if the new wave of Arab leaders will be moderate, more secular with stronger ties to the West. For JN1, I'm Ron Jacobson in front of the Egyptian embassy in Tel Aviv.